Imagine waking up to find yourself ruling a world you never actually planned to govern. It's a strange position for a republic to be in. This is the scale of the modern United States. Today, the U.S. maintains over 800 military bases across nearly every continent. That presence requires a massive financial commitment. In global military spending, the U.S. accounts for 37% of the world's total. This level of global management would have been unrecognizable to the country's founders. For its first 70 years, America was fiercely isolationist, choosing to remain a distant observer of world politics. Even when leaders pushed to expand after the Civil War, they were frequently shut down. Congress blocked plans to purchase Greenland and Iceland and rejected the annexation of territory in the Caribbean. The result is a historical irony. The most powerful empire in history was built by a nation that initially just wanted to be left alone behind two oceans. The shift began with the Industrial Revolution. Explosive economic growth required a more centralized federal government to manage the new industrial landscape, concentrating power in Washington. That centralized power gave expansionist presidents more leverage. In 1898, President William McKinley pushed a reluctant nation into war with Spain over Cuba. The U.S. easily defeated the aging Spanish Empire. In a few months, Washington went from a continental power to an overseas administrator, acquiring Puerto Rico and Guam in the process. A wave of annexations followed across the Pacific, including the Kingdom of Hawaii and the Philippines. By the 20th century, the need to protect new commercial and military interests had turned an anti-imperialist republic into a global maritime power. After World War II, the geopolitical landscape changed. Much of Europe and Asia lay in ruins, their economies shattered and their leadership hollowed out. The United States emerged as the only major power with an intact economy and a monopoly on atomic weapons. This gave Washington a unique level of influence over the post-war order. To prevent another global collapse, American leaders decided they had to actively set the terms of the peace, moving away from isolationism to manage global stability. They spearheaded the creation of the United Nations, an organization built to outlaw wars of conquest and provide a legal forum for resolving international disputes. On the economic front, they established the Bretton Woods system. By creating the IMF and the World Bank, they aimed to prevent another Great Depression through a managed global financial system. By engineering these institutions to prevent another world war, the United States assumed a permanent role as the guarantor of global stability. That new order was immediately challenged by the Soviet Union. Soviet expansion in Eastern Europe threatened the American vision of a free-trading, democratic world. Washington responded with a strategy called containment. This was a commitment to stop the spread of communism anywhere it appeared on the globe. To enforce this, the U.S. abandoned plans to draw down its military. Instead, it formed NATO, a permanent alliance meant to stop a potential Russian invasion of Western Europe. Containment pushed the U.S. into dozens of secret interventions and proxy wars, from the mountains of Korea to the jungles of Nicaragua, as it sought to counter Soviet influence in every region. What began as a temporary post-war strategy hardened into a permanent military presence. The Cold War rewired American foreign policy, making a global footprint a requirement for national security. In 1989, the central pillar of the post-war system disappeared. The Berlin Wall fell, and the Soviet Union eventually collapsed. With its primary rival gone, the original rationale for a global military machine vanished. Washington faced a clear choice: dismantle the Cold War alliances or maintain its role as the world's sole superpower. Presidents like George H.W. Bush decided to stay the course. They believed that even without a Soviet threat, American management was necessary to keep the global system from fracturing. NATO stayed together. It expanded further into Europe, absorbing former Soviet satellite states to keep the continent unified. The Cold War infrastructure had become so vital to global stability that American leaders realized they could no longer pull the plug without risking a systemic collapse. Today, this permanent system is facing intense domestic scrutiny. Politicians like Donald Trump have questioned why the U.S. continues to fund protective alliances and trade systems that were built for a different century. Yet the global web of alliances remains fully operational. The institutional momentum of the last 80 years has created a system that persists despite political shifts at home. What began as a series of strategic responses to 20th century crises has hardened into a permanent global architecture. America built a system to manage the world, and now that system has become a reality it may never be able to escape. Do you think America should continue its role as the world's manager, or is it time to step back? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world.